Welcome into Clips and Dip, Season 2, Episode 24. I'm Adam Oslin. We got Chuck Mockler and Will Updike here. The trifecta has returned, the triumphant threesome tripod. I always
Not
this part.
Not that one.
Not the threesome. Pause. It's good to be with you guys. Last night, if you missed it, we did a little Clips and Double Dip, myself and Chuck Mockler, after the Clippers lost their sixth straight ball game, 5 straight with James Harden. We'll talk about that off the top. Coming up later in the show, we'll preview Clippers and Rockets on Friday, what they need to do better, and why this Rockets team has won 6 in a row. So I guess, guys, we'll start things off with, how are you, Chuck? Thanks for doing that last night on Clippers Talk. How you been?
I've been better, I think. 6 games ago, I was doing better than I am now because we hadn't experienced this loss. But it's raining in LA. It's fall. I'm drinking tea. So everything other than the Clippers, I think, is going well. Want to say hello to the new listeners and people watching. We're on YouTube, youtube.com/@ClippersPodcast. I'm enjoying the fall. I'm happy there's 2 days off to forget about what's happening with the Clippers. But excited to talk about some of the good stuff, including one of Will's insane takes that we had that might actually end up happening at some point. But Will, how are you?
I'm doing all right, all things considered. Yeah, I'm also appreciating the rain. I also love when it's raining in LA. It's all anybody can talk about. So it's one of my favorite things.
That and the 10 closing, dude. I work in an office. We're not getting shit done with this weather and with the 10 closing. It's been great.
All right. So
a welcome distraction from the Clippers, as Charles said.
Yeah. Well, we're about to get your undivided attention back on the Clippers here, Will, as we talk about this. The Clippers lose last night by 3 in Denver to the Nuggets, where they had opportunities to win the ball game. They were up by 7 with 6 minutes left. Stayed small after it worked to get them back into the ball game, but then Nikola Jokic re-entered. The rest is history. And a 3-point loss in a game where Aaron Gordon hit a half-court shot to end the third quarter. Insult to injury, whatever you want to call it. Everything that can go wrong has and will go wrong for the Clippers right now. But what do you guys think is the most concerning thing during this losing streak so far, Chuck?
I don't know if I really believe that it's Ty Lue, but there's I think it's just fresh in my mind. Obviously, we didn't have any size. Zoo had the 4 fouls. But even bringing him in those last couple of possessions probably could have helped defensively. That doesn't seem to be Ty's thing. The Clippers are in place to sign Daniel Theis, who's a 6'8" center who's going to help the offense a lot, which is good in terms of connecting. But it might be coaching, but I think I have to give it to the roster. I think I have to give it to, we just don't have size. And we traded the size, which we had to do, I guess. And then Mason goes down, which is obviously you're not going to carry 3 centers. So
game one of the Harden losing streak era.
Yeah. So, and you're not going to carry 3 centers. So I don't know. It feels like it's a bunch of things working together to screw the Clippers over. We'll talk about the Theis thing, but I think it's just roster construction.
Will?
This isn't all Ty Lue, but I do have to push back a little bit. I'm just getting kind of tired of the thing where we say something and then it gets run back. Ty Lue said he wanted to, keep the shifts of Harden and Russ apart. They're still unwilling to change the starting lineup, though. We've seen some little things, and then it just seems like there's not a lot of progress. And I think that is the most troubling thing about this losing streak. And there were some things to like. I mean, there have been some things to like throughout this losing streak. I mean, with the exception of one game, Paul George has been superb offensively. We got in this Nuggets loss. James Harden's probably best offensive performance. Would have liked to see him, facilitating things a little bit more. But that's the overall issue that I have with this is just continuously when these games are close and in clutch minutes, the Clippers are failing to create good shots. They're just bad shots. When that game was very winnable for the Clippers, it was borderline malpractice. The offense the shots they were able to get. And I know, Adam, you've been defensive of, some of those ISO, Kawhi, mid-range things. He did not have it last night, and some of those shots that he was getting, like it, I fail to see with this much offensive talent how they cannot be coming up with better shots. And it's also been the same every single game, these losses, right? It's kind of neck and neck first quarter. They go into the half, they're down 8 to 10 points. Other team pulls away in the third, and it usually gets even worse in the fourth, except for, I mean, I don't know what, 4 of these games have been complete blowouts where we rarely even see the starters in the fourth, but it's kind of just the same thing happening again and again and again. And sure, I mean, that is due to the roster. That is due to who we're down, but you're telling me you're telling me there's nothing that we can do to pull out a win with the roster that we have? Because if that's the case, I mean, we'll talk about the Theis edition, but like if that's what's going to save our season, it might already be time to pack it in, man.
Well, I thought last night in particular, every game has its own story, of course, but last night you're up 7 with 6 minutes left. Jokic comes back in. PJ Tucker's doing an admirable job against him, but then he's taken out with about 3.5 minutes left. The Clippers have James Harden, Paul George, Kawhi Leonard, Terrence Mann, and Norman Powell out there. They are extremely small. Jokic is bullying guys, and whether he's making the shot or missing the shot, leading to offensive rebounds, one put back by him within the last 3 minutes, one by Aaron Gordon. It's just so difficult to defend him that way because if you double him, he's going to find the open guy. And even if he puts the shot up and misses, because you're double teaming him, triple teaming him, you're not going to have bodies there to grab that board. So,
and it wasn't even just him. Like I thought that Reggie, the easy run where Paul George had his back to him in the fourth, that one hurt. All the Aaron Gordon stuff, like they got contributions from other guys. And the defense is so soft, obviously when they're small, but like they're still just failing to score. Didn't the Nuggets go? It was like a 17-5 run to end the game, wasn't it? It was something absurd.
It was.
Yeah, it was 19-9 the last 6 minutes after the Clippers led by 7, but the Nuggets scored or missed a free throw on every single possession from the 6-minute mark in. They literally could not get a stop against them. And while going small got them back into it, I think there was a time there where you had to readjust. But I think the shot that made Coach Lue emboldened by his small ball lineup was that three-pointer by Norman Powell. I think he doesn't make that three, he would have taken him out. I think he makes the three, and Coach Lue says, look, it's a trade-off. And he said post-game, he knows it. It's a trade-off. You're trading offense for defense. You're leaning into offense. But that three-pointer,
why couldn't they score?
Well, they couldn't score all like the last 3 minutes, really, in particular.
If they were outscored 20, if it was like 26-20, or like something more reasonable, it'd be like fine, yeah, that's a game that you lose. But this has been an ongoing thing. Like this team can't score with their best offensive talent put together on the floor.
9 points in 6 minutes obviously isn't good. That's an 18-point quarter. Does some of this stuff happen sometimes in the fourth quarter? Yes. But to your point of in crunch time in particular, I was just running the numbers and going to the clutch time stats. It's an official thing now on NBA.com. It originally started on an obscure website, 82games.com, 15, 20
Shout
years
out
ago.
82games.com.
Yeah, killer. But the Clippers in games in the last 5 minutes within 5 points, and they've been in 5 of these so far. They've lost all 5. Offensively, in those situations, they are shooting 25%. Their defensive rating those situations is even more alarming. Their defensive rating, their offensive rating is 106.7. For reference, the worst offensive rating in the league by a team is 104. So it's bad. 106.7 is bad. You know what's really bad? Their defensive rating in the last 5 minutes of a game within 5 points. It's 140.8. Now, we're talking about 23 minutes total of clutch time in these 5 games. It's not a lot, but it is part of how you lost those games. It's part of the story. They were not good when their best was required.
And if we talked about – sorry, I had to my handyman's at my door. We're getting a new water heater. Have we talked about have we talked about Kawhi? Adam, you posted his shooting splits as the game goes on, and a lot of people have been talking about how he doesn't look right. I'm not here to speculate about health. We're not talking about that. But he hasn't been as Kawhi-ness late in the game.
You didn't think defensively he was like pretty Kawhi last game?
No, that's the thing. Defensively, it's great, but offensively, I think that was my next point. He's suffering because of that. He's having to do a lot of defense, and he's also not getting enough shots to start the game, I don't think.
Well, but I believe we saw that in both last season and the second year of 2-1-3. At the beginning, offensively, Kawhi, like it was a little slow to start. I feel like I remember multiple hit pieces that were like, is Kawhi's mid-range game not what it once was? Or, like stuff like that.
Yeah.
So I hear you. I mean, the thing is with this talent, we go as far as 2-1-3 goes. So it definitely is troubling in a 6-game losing streak, 7-game losing streak.
Sure, and it's obviously magnified by that because we've been losing all these games, which is he's going to get put under a microscope.
Well, there's a few things on that to me that are worrisome. One, we talked about all summer. Is it more physical to play the 3 or play the 4? We weren't exactly sure. Is there less movement when you're playing the 4? But it's more physical overall because you're battling for boards and therefore more taxing. Or is it more taxing to chase guys around the perimeter? It could be related to him playing the 4. Another reason maybe this starting lineup isn't the way to go because it's somehow flown under the radar that, Paul George and Kawhi Leonard just got bumped up positions.
Right, yeah, Kawhi's a
nobody's
natural
really
three.
talking about it.
Yeah.
And so
we continue to run 2 guards. So
yeah. 2 ball.
What do you want? Guards. I mean, it seems like there's a solution for that, but I don't know.
Well, we've definitely talked about that. But I'm saying maybe this is the side effect. Kawhi Leonard, his legs, he's giving so much defensively, and he was great. That steal he had getting it to Paul George was incredible. That doesn't happen to Jokic like ever. And I thought his effort was great. And some of the defense he played on Jokic. Look, Jokic went 8 of 23 from the field. They had their opportunity with him having an off night. Now he was 13 of 13 from the free throw line.
But part of that was Kawhi. I thought Kawhi did a really good job of, the best you can do on Jokic, which is, just got to try to get him out of rhythm. Just got to try to slow him down a little bit. You're not going to stop everything. There's not a Jokic stopper. It's why we saw in the offseason, teams didn't even try. They didn't even try to find the defensive answer to Jokic. They just found guys. They're like, all right, we need to put up 120. We need to put up 120 plus points.
But I posted the Kawhi splits by quarter of how many shot attempts, his field goal percentage, and 3-point percentage. And basically through 10 games this season, he starts off in the first quarter shooting 53% from the field. By the fourth quarter, he's at 38%. Now, the second and fourth quarters, he's taking far less shots. He starts off with 4.7 attempts in the first quarter, then 3.1 in the second. He's playing less minutes. Then 5.8 shots in the third quarter. They try to get him going. Then just 3.3 shots in the fourth. And less is less with Kawhi, basically. More is more. When he's taking more shots, there seems to be a clear correlation that he's getting in rhythm. The more shots he is taking per quarter has a direct correlation to his field goal percentage going up. And now that's all 10 games. If you just look at the 5 games with James Harden, obviously his attempts are way down. 4.8 in the first quarter, okay, but just 2 shots in the second quarter, just 2.3 shots in the fourth quarter. And his field goal percentage in the fourth quarter with James Harden, 33%. From the field, 33% from the outside. So he's taking the fewest amount of shots now in a fourth quarter, maybe in a long time in his career since he became, a number 1 type of option on offense. This is not good. You don't bring in James Harden and make this pairing or this big 4 and have Kawhi as the guy sacrificing. That is not the key to winning a championship. You have to have Kawhi as a number 1 option on a championship team. You have to have that version of Kawhi that looks like the best player that can win you a championship as the number 1 option. And right now, the way he's getting less shots, just 16, I think, is the most he has taken since they brought in James Harden. That's not enough.
That's crazy. Yeah.
Well, and I think when we talk about this offense, I mean, you can't judge everything off a box score, but like just look at the field goal attempts, look at the distribution among the team. And, it's pretty clear that something is broken with the offense. Like they're not getting the right guys shots. And that's why they're failing to score.
Well, it
seems simple enough to me.
Get the good guys the shots.
It's difficult in some ways because, okay, Paul George is going off. So he takes over 20 shots to get his 35. That's
sure, but
fine.
Russ and Kawhi took essentially the same amount of shots.
Right.
And I'm not just
that's
putting
where
this
it
on
is.
Russ. Terrence Mann, efficient three-point shooter, took 1 shot all game. Norm, pretty solid game, only took 7 shots. Like these are things like and again, I know it sounds like I'm being hard on Westbrook. It's not just him, but like you look at that and I know that it's not as simple as like completely scripting the game. Things happen within the flow of the offense, but there has to be a greater effort on running those set plays. And really, I think having back pocket plays, man, sometimes we look terrible coming out of a timeout or a stoppage. And I just don't understand. Like, I just don't understand how even this deep in like, I know we're only 10 games, but like, I don't even understand at this point how you don't have something in your back pocket that you're like, okay, we know we can go to this. If it breaks down, we have option BC, but I'm not seeing that. I'm just not seeing that on the court. It's not just guys missing shots.
Yeah.
Right. That's a good point.
It hasn't looked sophisticated enough. And some of that with James Harden, okay, they're figuring each other out. But then you drop a play at the end of the game and it's just Paul George, take a tough 3-pointer over KCP.
That was such a terrible shot.
Which feels those plays, those bad last second shots, how many times have we seen that? That's not just a this year thing. It feels
Why were they not using the clock at all at the end of that game? I just don't get it. Like they were just they were just chucking up bad shots. That's the thing that's so tough is like we've seen this team losing games, missing shots, but the process looks good. And we're not seeing a lot of process. This thing just feels very cyclical so far through the James Harden experiment.
I do think overall, though, when it comes to that game in Denver, you play Ivica Zubac 5 minutes at the end of the ball game.
3 minutes.
There's like a 90% chance they win that game. It's never certain against Nikola Jokic, but up 7 with 6 minutes left, you have to find a way to win the ball game
and use the fouls. If you got the 2 fouls, it's like fine, use them.
They were fouling anyways.
Right.
Like if the point was, we can't afford to foul him out. Denver had 11 free throws in the fourth quarter. They couldn't defend without fouling. So what's one more guy that can't do it? And at least when he's not fouling, he's playing really good defense and playing with Jokic one-on-one. So you have other guys there to get boards.
Do we want to talk about Theis now, or do we want to talk about it during the Some Good Things segment? Because believe it or not, listeners, we have some good things that the Clippers maybe did last game.
Let's do that in the next segment.
All right. Do we have any other grievances airing for what is up with the Clippers right now? We want to get off our chest before we get into the positive segment after the ad break.
No.
Well,
other than the marketing, which we'll talk about, but
I guess we hit on everything there. Will mentioned the Russell Westbrook going 4-12, 8 points, not trying to pile on, but he takes 12 shots. Kawhi takes 14. It just
doesn't make sense. It's not a recipe to win games. And I understand you, like I said, you can't script the whole thing. I get that. Yeah. But if you see the same thing again and again and again, something's wrong.
Well, Russ is one of the guys that has to sacrifice. If Paul George is going to take 26 shots because he's hot, that's already taking shots away from Kawhi. You have to let Kawhi get to at least 18 shots, I think.
Please.
18 to 20.
Absolutely.
So therefore, sorry, you can't take as many. And Russ missed some easy ones in that game. And there were some great plays, too, where they found him cutting to the basket, Zubac and Terrence Mann for dunks. But overall, and I know some people are going to say, well, Russ was on the court when they made the run, and look at his plus minus. And it's like, guys, Jokic wasn't on the court at that point. Like, that's when you have to worry. That's the minutes you're trying to win. And overall, the starting 5 against Denver's starting 5, I think ended up winning the minutes ever so slightly in the first and third quarters. That's encouraging. That's a good sign because the starting 5 overall has been awful for the Clippers, and their offensive rating is 90. The worst offensive rating by a team in the league is 104, and the Clippers starting 5 in the last 5 games with James Harden is 90.
About half
They're
a quarter
shooting
behind.
38%. Those 4 Hall of Famers with Zubats are shooting 38% in about 60 minutes. That's starting 5 so far. How? That's almost impossible. That doesn't even feel realistic at all.
What is real?
43% would be crazy low. 38% from those guys? It's not clicking.
It's not clicking. It's clicking down, as some people would say. I think we can all agree. It's clicking, but it's clicking down. But there is some good stuff to talk about, which we are going to talk about after this ad break. Some people have said the ads have been too loud. If that's been the case for you, and if you're a new listener and you don't even want to risk it, go ahead and turn it down. We're talking good things about the Clippers, and then a Clippers versus Rockets preview. Ads coming up in 3, 2, 1.
All right, we're back in on Clips and Dip. Look, in segment 1, we talked about what's going on, what's been going wrong. That loss to the Nuggets. Obviously, now we're going to focus on a few of the good things. There are a few, and part of that is also an addition that the Clippers did make the day that we're recording this. So yeah, I guess before we get into Theis, Charles, bring us back up. Click. We've been clicked down. Click us back up.
All right.
What are some things that we can appreciate and look forward to from this Clippers team?
So Justin Russo, fantastic beat reporter for the Clippers. Go follow him at FlyByNight on Twitter. He tweeted out some stats that I know Will's going to be excited about in terms of PJ Tucker, and we talked about Norman Powell.
Am I the PJ bandwagon now? I don't know how I got that.
Your hot take was that he should start, so that's how you got it. I think that's fair.
Oh, that was wild. But I'm a big PJ guy. I posted the footage of him guarding Jokic in Philly, and he played him well last night.
But you didn't say he should start.
Well, only Will come up with something.
Absolutely.
Genius.
But so Justin Russo tweeted this out. They found something with Norman Powell and 5-out lineups. There is a caveat to this, which we'll talk about, but they're plus 19 in 58 minutes when Norm Powell is on the floor without a big. It's been minus 62 in 186 minutes when any big is present with Norm Powell.
With Powell or PJ?
Powell. Last 2 games, they're plus 11 in 28 minutes in 5-out lineups with 128 offensive rating with Norm Powell in a 5-out lineup without Mason Plumlee or Zubats. The flip side of this, the defense has not been good. It's 114 defensive rating and 110 overall with Powell in those lineups. So you're just kind of hoping the offense is crushing
110,
it.
That's not bad.
But Norm in the 5-out lineup has been good. Like that, we've talked about the spacing with Norm maybe starting or something like that for one of the guards. And so there's something there. And then add on that is PJ Tucker not as a 4. So PJ Tucker as the 5, a take that Will said maybe PJ Tucker should start. PJ Tucker, they're minus 1 in 46 minutes that Tucker plays without a big, which is not bad. All things considered in the 6-game losing streak, that's not that bad. It's minus 36 in 47 minutes when Tucker's with a big. So, like, it seems like there's a clear signs.
It doesn't make any sense. It doesn't make any sense to play PJ Tucker with another big.
Totally.
I texted this to Chuck multiple times during games. It does. Like, why are we doing it? It doesn't.
No, we talked about it the other day here. I'm like, you want to play him at the 4? If not the 5, where else can you put PJ Tucker? That's the only place.
So these two stats lead me to believe that if Norm is out there as the 1 or the 2 and PJ's out there as the 5, hey, things might not be so bad. Is that crazy?
What was their defensive rating again?
It doesn't matter.
Like
okay, so
it does.
So the defensive rating with Norm Powell in a 5-out lineup is 114. Sorry,
also not bad.
110. Not crazy. If because also these lineups are there to score, right? Like if Norm score, that's what we want in these lineups. We're like it's not
that's borderline top 10 or around 10th defensively. 110.
Right? It's not like, but they've also been shooting a little crazy. So like it is a small sample size, but the offense is there, and the Clippers' offense has looked bad all the way around. So like I'm with it. Let's get these Norm at the 2, PJ at the 5 lineups. put one of Kawhi or PG out there, fill in the rest. I'm here for it. We need wins. Let's do this, right? Like, I don't know.
I just wasn't sure if PJ counted as playing 5 out. I know he hit a couple of 3-pointers and they were big shots against Denver, but he also stepped out of bounds on one. He hasn't exactly looked comfortable.
Growing pains.
Yeah, I was thinking 5 out is
rating overall right now is 113. So it's like seems the same. Seems the same to me defensively.
Tucker at the 5.
Yeah, if you're going to play him, that's where he has to play. He can't play with another non-shooter out there. It has to be 4 guys that can shoot next to Tucker to utilize, his defense, his hustle, and a corner 3 here and there.
Well, also, did you guys see the article from the fantastic OC Register? If you're not subscribing, go ahead and subscribe. About PJ Tucker wanting kind of more minutes and to be a glue guy.
Yeah, I heard it was framed. I didn't read the actual quotes. I heard Lucas Hahn talking about it on the Lob the Jam.
It's a little pushed up with it's like headliney, of course, but I don't think PJ Tucker would be mad if he was playing because we're seemingly going to add Daniel Theis in 2 days when he clears waivers, which is like we're kind of up in the air. So like I really hope we don't play Theis and Tucker together because that seems like a nightmare too. But I think PJ would be, I don't know, play him at the 5. Like he's getting cooked at the 4 a little bit.
Well, it's just if he's at the 4, that means there's another big. That means Zubats is next to him, and therefore there's no spacing. That's not going to work.
Yeah, it only worked with Embiid because you're talking about a completely different offensive player than Ivica Zubats.
Yeah.
Shoot. But I'm still. This isn't a huge revelation to me. PJ Tucker, here we go. We found our guy or something like that. I think at best, he should be playing about 10 to 15 minutes a night.
Well, sure. In a perfect world, Julius Randle wouldn't have bull rushed Mason Plumlee's lower body.
But I mean, that's about what he's been playing, right?
I don't know. But with Ty's going to play PJ, which we all know. It's kind of like Marcus Morris part 2 a little bit. But PJ's better at the 5. I just hope this happens. I just hope this continues to happen while we work out Daniel Theis's fit with this team too.
Well, I think it was smart against Denver. He has a history of playing Jokic tough. There's other guys, though, he can do that with. Sengun is baby Joker. They're taking on the Rockets on Friday. Sure. I do think there's real utility and usefulness to PJ Tucker. Unlike with what we saw with Marcus the last 3 months of the season, let's just be honest about it. I think it's very different. PJ Tucker is playing hard defensively, is and out there even at his age, moving pretty well. I think he has value.
We got some small sample theater as well. Russ, PG, Terrence, Kawhi, PJ in 3 minutes. +5 against the Nuggets. But that lineup, I'm also not mad at the idea of that lineup. That's not the craziest sounding lineup.
No. I was happy when they got PJ Tucker. I thought Coach Lou would find a place to put him in. What do you mean? He's been one of my favorite players. How dare you?
Well, that's fair. I don't know. Well, are you like Carl Tart? Are you going to get the jersey? I think Carl Tart's already ordered.
I don't get jerseys for anyone anymore. Too old for that ass. But I like PJ Tucker. I like his mindset. Do you have the exact quotes though from that article? One of them sounded a little bit worrisome with how many minutes he was looking to get. But
let me log into my subscriber login.
Yeah, see, I
on the
don't
OC
have
register. I mean, that's fine.
I hope he's not going to be too disappointed because right now he's averaging 15.7 minutes per night as a Clipper, which is understandable.
Yeah.
If you will.
Wait, what? I missed
I'm
it.
signed up for the LA Times. I forgot about the OC.
People always do, bro.
How can I forget about Bill Plunkett?
I don't think. Okay, yeah. So I think here's the quote you're talking about. Tucker, however, isn't crazy about the limited minutes he is seeing with the talent-laden Clippers. In 5 games, he's averaging
like 20 minutes. Oh, sorry.
Let me get the quote out.
You're about to say.
And In 5 games, he's averaging just 14.4 minutes and played 13 minutes against
God,
the
it
Grizzlies.
feels like 20, if I'm being
does.
honest.
He's hoping to play more when the Clippers travel to Denver on Tuesday to take on the defending champion Nuggets. Here's what he said. I went from 30 minutes a game starting to playing 10 minutes coming off the bench, Tucker said. It's a huge adjustment for me. I probably have the most adjustment than anybody, okay? But I'm a professional. I come in and do my job every night, do my job and leave it out there on the court in the time that I get. So I think I feel Adam's trepidation based on that quote, because it's like, I think it's tough when a guy's talking about how he wants more minutes and he's like, but I still do my job well. And it's like, well, it maybe seems like you might not if you're not getting as much minutes, because that's where this conversation started.
It's just tough because you can't. I mean, you know, like I said in my wild take, like he could be in the starting lineup. I feel like you have to find, especially when you're down a big, you have to find ways to make him the most effective he can be on the floor.
Totally.
And that's just never going to happen with Subats. So I don't. Yeah.
Well, I'm just thinking, what would he be saying if Mason Plumlee wasn't out right now? He'd
Right.
be getting no minutes.
Right.
What are we talking about? Like, he's been here a week and a half. Like, I like the guy too, but what was the part about sacrifice? What did he say?
Well, he's got the hardest role of anybody.
I don't know if that's accurate.
So I think we should maybe keep PJ Tucker quote watch going. That might have to be something. Shout out the OC Register.
I just can't believe that he's whatever.
It's a wild quote. It's a kind of a crazy. Shout out Janice Carr. She took over for Miriam Swanson over for the Clippers on the OC Register. Shout out Janice. This is a great piece. So let's talk someone.
I like the confidence, man.
I'm doing my best, dude. This is the positive segment. I brought a lot to the table. I'm arguing against 2 angry brick walls right now. So let's talk Daniel Theis, because you guys might have to convince me that this is a positive move. We haven't really, like, he's going to clear waivers, and if all things goes well, I believe it's Friday he can sign with the Clippers or something like that. How are we feeling about this addition? I mean, I'm happy we're not trading.
Yeah, originally we were like, oh, how could they even get him? He makes $9 million. And we were all complaining, another brick in the wall. We were all complaining about, well, why haven't they made a move yet? Well, it appears the front office wasn't just sitting on their hands or something. They were waiting to see if he was bought out. He was. So smart on their part. Yeah. It looks like that's what's happening. I'm intrigued, honestly, because I was a fan with him with Boston. I don't know where he's at physically, though, in his career. I know he's just 30 years of age, but I think he's had some injuries. People have talked about his play in FIBA this summer and how good he looked against Team USA. Yeah. So, obviously, it is as low of a risk as you can get at this point. So I'm not hating on it at all. And he does have some of the skill set you would like to see, especially now with James Harden.
In the short roll, like someone tweeted out, like, he's going to be here to be in the pick and roll. And I'm like, that's great. Like that is exactly what he's going to be used for, is the play connector. He's going to play very up-tempo defense and, set the tone there and stuff like that. I'm still just not seeing how it helps the size problem with the Clippers. It does fill in one of the...
plays big.
Yeah, it fills in one of the 6'8" height, roster holes we had losing Batum and Rocco and stuff like that. So, and he does play big, but I hope he plays big. I just hope it works. I don't know exactly who the alternative would be. I think we talked about Nerlens Noel on here, but Ty doesn't want to play like that. He's, I bet like Daniel Theis is going to be on the floor later in games, and I think maybe some of us are expecting or want to start, because he helps the offense more than he helps the Clippers defense. And I think that's fair, because that's what Ty preference is.
Yeah. I don't know. My thing with this is this was another one of those ones that felt a little bit inevitable. So it wasn't necessarily like a surprising sign. I'm glad that they did address it. I'm glad that they didn't wait any longer, because it's just apparent they don't have the size. And while this isn't a 7-footer, it was kind of the best we could do. And yeah, I mean, given the buyout market and stuff, obviously this isn't, hoping that nothing has gotten worse with the Mason Plumlee timeline or what that injury is projected to be.
It's reevaluated in
so assuming that is still like on a similar timeline, it's not something you want to, obviously you can't really even ship out any more players or
Right.
certainly any assets to fill the hole of of the backup center. But I am glad that they addressed it, and getting him for nothing, essentially, just pay is, yeah. I mean, I cannot think of a better, like, realistic move.
Yeah, that's a good call.
Does anyone else feel like he looks a little bit like white chocolate, Jason Williams?
Let me see. When
he had the shaved head. I'm watching highlights right now of Germany versus USA at FIBA, and he did box the hell out of Mikal Bridges, put him into the stanchion almost.
Okay.
Boxed him out. So
yeah, we're gonna get that. That's gonna be good stuff.
You're concerned, and I love the numbers you put out earlier today, Chuck, but just people getting overly excited about his shooting potential. Please lay out the numbers, because I found that interesting.
He's not as much of a stretch five as Andre Drummond.
Man, Carl is lucky he does not have Twitter. I rewatched that clip. I've never sounded that disappointed, I think, on this podcast. And when I went, Andre Drummond? Anyway.
Bro, no, he's not. He can't shoot threes.
Yeah. So Daniel Theis, a lot of people were saying, like, oh, he can stretch the floor. Like, he's going to be a good stretch big to have out there for the spacing. And that is not true over the last 2 years. Over his last 2 full seasons, so not counting this one where he has 1 appearance, 41% of his attempts are from 0 to 3 feet from the basket. So a hefty amount of his shots come right at the basket. 20% have come from 3 to 10 feet, and he shot 61% there. Good Daniel Theis right there. He has no shot attempts from between 10 feet and the arc. Just none. Like, it's been like less than 3% of his shots or something like that. And then in the last 2 seasons, 25% of his shots have come from 3-point range, where he has shot 26%. This is not a guy. He's going to do very good things for the Clippers, I think. I think he will be a good fit, but he's not going to stretch the floor like this. We're not going to see some, new, like when Daniel Theis is out there with the bench. We're not going to see some beautiful motion. Well played, Will. That's a good name. We're not going to see some beautiful motion offense opened up by Daniel Theis's spacing presence for the Clippers. And that is also okay. But if you're thinking he's going to be a stretch big, he's not big, and he doesn't shoot from far out. So
he doesn't, like, look, man, if we could get 60 to 70% of what we can get from Mason Plumlee, which maybe that's even asking a lot. The Clippers can at least, win some games and not have a second unit that's getting, like, completely annihilated out there.
Totally. He will help the second unit so much, which this
isn't a ceiling raising move. This is a floor raising. This is
there is no floor right now. The floor is gone. We are falling through a house that was poorly built. There's no floor.
This is the first ripcord ripped completely off, and this is us attempting to pull the second one.
Yeah, we're Peggy Hill jumping out of the plane right now. It's what it feels like.
The one consistent thing I'm seeing here in these highlights versus USA, the Germany-USA FIBA game, is he is contesting every time somebody attacks the basket.
Mm-hmm.
He's getting a hand up, so he's probably going to foul.
Just watching the highlights while we're doing a podcast, man. This is what's wrong with our generation. You can't even focus up for a little podcast.
You're always
chatting with a couple of friends.
Adam's in an internet cafe chat room.
Theis is nice. He's contesting stuff.
No, he, like that. Like the grit is nice. Like this is a great signing from a we need a little more grit perspective for sure. I'm curious to see what happens when Mason Plumlee comes back. But that's hopefully not too far down the road.
Some size and some options.
Yeah. And I think, I don't know, he might outplay PJ Tucker. Who knows? Probably.
Maybe.
I don't think it's that hard.
Want to read those quotes again?
All right. Any other positive notes?
Until Theis has those exact same quotes. Thought I'd be playing one.
Dude, okay, wait. We should talk about that because he's talked about that with the Pacers.
Yeah.
They have 2 young, very good guys, and they're playing very well in front of him. But he's also like, I came to the Pacers to play. I had a gold medal. what's up with that. So I guess something to keep an eye on. I hope there's not another. I mean, I hope I get to read another OC Register piece, but I hope it's not about PJ Tucker and Daniel Theis teaming up to form the more minutes squad.
Well, I would say this to people worried about his size, and you're on point with the shooting, of course, Chuck. But if we're talking about PJ Tucker and what he can do at the 5 with his size, well, he's shorter than Theis. I know he's stout and he's wide, but he's 6'5".
Yeah.
Theis is 6'8". So look, we're talking 10 to 15 minutes a night.
Daniel Theis.
Yeah. He's also old. The most important stat for basketball. Okay, so no more
Adam.
So no more positive notes before we get into the Clippers versus Rockets preview?
No, I feel like we did a pretty good job with that one.
No, I mean, what about the fact that James Harden had 21 and looked by far his best so far as a Clipper? That third quarter was special. He had 10 of his 21. I think he had 19 of his 21 points in the first quarter and the third quarter. But that third, he went on that run. There was some excitement there. Him hitting that 3 to end the third quarter, we thought, until Aaron Gordon knocked down that one with 3 seconds left. But he had a nice blow-by. He also missed a layup, unfortunately, in the fourth quarter. That would have been big.
Yeah.
I think some of that is the Jokic effect, but also I'm hoping that's part of the rust that he's still just shedding at the moment, getting off. And that, I don't know. I was encouraged by the fact that he looked like 75%. Oh, getting off. He looked like 75% of James Harden.
Yeah, and he scored from all 3 levels. If you, I want people to go back and look at the shot chart from his game. He had 2 buckets right at the left elbow. He had 3 right at the rim. I think he had 4 threes or something like that. Beautiful. He scored his first buckets at the rim for the Clippers last night, which is terrifying, but also good going forward.
No, what's more important than that? The entire reason we think they're going through this transitional phase is because of James Harden, and he's starting to come around. If they win that game last night, I mean, which they easily could have, what are the talking points going to be? James Harden looks much better. They're figuring it out.
Same talking points.
Well,
Charles
only because I'm bringing it up.
Charles wrote the show notes before the game, so nothing would have changed.
Yeah, exactly.
I was gonna say, you're looking for positives. I think this is kind of a big one.
It is. That is a very
Only 4
good
assists,
call.
though.
Okay.
One turnover.
Will's favorite stat, assist to turnover ratio. What say you, Will?
That's pretty meaty.
What was Russ at, Will?
That's a meaty rage. All right. We're going to get into this Clippers versus Rockets preview. It's mid-season tournament. The Clippers, I think, were the first team mathematically eliminated from being able to win their group. Pretty cool. I mean, kind of fun. First team in history. So we're going to preview how they can spoil the Rockets. Ads have been loud. We got ads coming up, and then the Rockets preview in 3, 2, 1.
Welcome back in Clips and Dip, Season 2. I'm Adam Osland. We got Chuck Mockler and Will Updike here. Of course, I'm one of the angry bricks in the wall. I'm just the second one, though. Will is the first. As we put Chuck in the grinder, bringing up negativity in our positive segment. But important notes that I think bear mentioning. So this is an interesting matchup on Friday. I know Chuck was doing some deep dives on the Houston Rockets, and we're all kind of wondering, how have they had this big turnaround? We know about the Fred VanVleet signing. We know about Dylan the Villain and his $80 million contract. But what's come together for them? Because it seems like they're starting to pair that veteran leadership with the youth they've had, and it's working so far. They smacked the Lakers around, and they beat the Denver Nuggets. So 2 teams the Clippers lost to.
Yeah, I mean, if you just look at like the team stats, their defensive rating is 6, that's where it's coming from. Because offensively, they're not lighting it up at all. They're 20th in points. They're 7th in 3-point attempts, but they hit a below average amount. And they're 17th in 2-point attempts, or they're 17th in 2-point percentage, but 20th in attempts. It's like, it's not like they're shooting some crazy efficient number. Their defense has just been really good. They hold
11th in offensive rating, though. 11th, they're just outside the top 10.
Right, but they're averaging 111 points a game.
But that's why you don't go off of points per game, because the pace can skew that.
Right. But
offensive rating levels out the pace. So you
All
play
right,
at a faster
nerd.
pace, you get more
Okay.
shots up.
put the gun away.
I'm
God
sorry.
damn.
The gun's out of the holster now, boys.
Go ahead. Okay, go.
No, I was going to point out the one thing I think they've had going for them, and I don't know if it's fluky or not, but I believe they're second in three-pointers made against. Teams are only shooting 32% from three against them. It could be weird, wacky shooting variance, and they're just getting lucky so far, or their perimeter defense is elite. That, to me, is the one thing that really stuck out.
Yeah, it's definitely their defense, which was I was going to get to. So how can the Clippers' busted offense break this seemingly really good defense?
Hit threes, which is what teams aren't doing against them, loosen up their defense that way. And the Clippers are top 5 in three-point percentage. If we're looking for some positives with the Clippers offense, they are shooting, I think, just over 37% from the outside as a team.
Yes, 37%, 18th in attempts. So we hope that goes up a little bit. And our average scoring is a lot better than what the Rockets shoot. You mentioned Sengun before. He's averaging 19, 8, and 6. He was like the basketball nerds' darling 2 years ago. People were like, every Rockets fan I knew was like, this dude is going to be the truth. He seemingly is so far. What are we looking at Zoo against Sengun? Because I think Zoo's going to be pissed off about his 4 fouls and not being good offensively against the Nuggets.
He was 2 for 8. I thought he missed some easy ones. There's still miscues where Harden is setting guys up beautifully. I think Paul George had a pass that he dropped, or Harden ran a beautiful pick and roll. But the other side of that is Harden got to the lane and got a layup because the just threat of the pick and roll, running it with Ivica Zubac. They stayed with him. Harden was able to get that layup. That was huge for him against Denver. But I just feel like Ivica Zubac, he had 7 offensive rebounds. Like, what are we talking about? 2 for 8. I could care less. He had 7 offensive rebounds, 13 boards. That was his best game to me, despite going 2 for 8. That was the best to me Ivica Zubac has looked. And that's why I'm a little bit discouraged by the fact he didn't play late. I think he could have been the difference maker. So, yeah, he might come out with his hair on fire and upset that he didn't play late in that ball game.
I hope he does. I hope he gets some kind of late minutes or something like that. Will, what are you looking for? The Rockets don't really turn the ball over, which is tough. Like, what do you want to see from the Clips in this one?
That was another encouraging thing that we didn't talk about last game. Like, overall, low turnovers for the Clips.
Yes. They cleaned it up because it was rough in the first quarter. I think they're on pace for like 20 or something like that.
Didn't it just feel like overall, hey, they're competing again. They're playing at a high level. They lost the game, but it looked very different with the way they were playing compared to losses against Memphis, Dallas, Brooklyn,
Yeah, the juice looked a lot better against this Nuggets team. They do have the 2 days off, which is nice, and it's a home game. I'm curious to see what the crowd's going to be like, but we kind of talked about some shot attempts from the Clippers earlier. Like, I feel like it's got to be in tiers. It's got to be PG and Kawhi are at the top of the field goal attempt tier. No one else can come in this tier. Obviously, things are going crazy. Terrence Mann is on pace for 39 again, or Russ is being efficient.
Yeah, if someone's on a heater, of course.
Go do your thing. But normal games, PG and Kawhi are up here. Then probably Harden
and Norm, then, I would say.
Yeah, like Harden / Norm, and then like / Russ. He can affect the game in other ways. He can pass. He can rebound. All that good stuff. But field goal attempts wise, Lord, I hope PG and Kawhi are number 1 and number 2 for this game, just for the process's sake. Because also, it's a good defense. They should be shooting the ball more.
And Russ would also just look better if he just like the issue is like just some of the shot selection is, again, borderline malpractice. Like, let's cut some of those bad shots out, and you'll look better, and your assist numbers will be higher.
My friend texted me during the game, why does Russ throw a fastball to someone 3 feet away from him? And it did make me laugh. I don't know if it's totally true. This person does not watch the Clippers very often. But he was like, it seems like Russ throws a pass to that really big guy really hard, really close with 3 guys around him. Said, you're not wrong. Sometimes it does happen.
Yeah, and I feel like there's going to be a lot of pushback, and people are going to say, oh, you guys are Russ haters or something like that. I want Russ to succeed.
I want him to be successful.
The team to succeed.
That's what I'm saying. Just cut some of the bad shots out of your diet.
Right. Yeah.
I just care about the team winning, and I think ultimately for them to have the highest ceiling, Harden's got to be the third best player. I just think that is the recipe for this Clippers team being a contender. It has to be more about James Harden. I think the ceiling's lower with Russell Westbrook as your third best guy because late in games, Coach Lue took him out late for a reason. He tends to have some of those wild turnovers just because he's at his best when the game's at a faster pace and the game's going to slow down late. So I commend Coach Lue for taking him out the last 2 games late and putting in James Harden. No, it didn't work out, unfortunately. I don't think that's why they lost both ball games, though. People are somewhat misinterpreting some of the numbers with Russ. It's like, okay, if he's on the floor while Norman Powell is on a heater and has 12 points in the fourth quarter, is that because Russ and therefore that plus minus is that meaningful? Because it looks much better for Russell Westbrook just because he happened to be there when Norman Powell was going off or Paul George was going off. Maybe there's some correlation there, but I'm not so sure.
Yeah, I don't know. I kind of wanted to bring something back that we haven't been doing from last game or from like this season. I don't think the players have realized we haven't been picking player of the game picks. That's why we've been losing.
Oh, man.
There's no motivation. They have no idea who we think is going to be player of the game. I hung my neck on the line for Marcus Morris last year, and look where it got us. Nowhere. But who are our picks for players of the game? I am going to go first, and I am going to say this is an easy. I'm going to say Kawhi Leonard. I think he's going to get to the line. The Rockets do not foul. Or sorry, the Rockets do foul. They foul like the 5th most times in the league. I think that's going to help Kawhi. It's going to help him maybe when he's off rhythm. It's going to help him get into a rhythm. We're seeing vintage Kawhi against the Rockets. Player of the game, Kawhi Leonard, Riverside, California. Adam, who is your pick? They're going to have some juice after they hear this.
I'm going to go with Big Zoo, playing angry, playing big, hopefully not getting discouraged. They didn't come back in that ball game. Use it as motivation, Big Zoo. I know it's been frustrating seeing him not play late in games for quite some time now, and that was one where I thought he certainly could have made the difference. But, all right, take it out on Houston then, Big Zoo. Dominate. Play big. Please.
I love it. All right, Will?
My player of the game?
Yes. We've gotten all starters so far.
Take Bones.
Oh, did you catch the little bit of drama with Bones in that NBA Central account on Twitter?
We should talk about that.
So
after you pick your player of the game.
Well, it's Bones.
I believe we've already picked it. So yeah, we haven't talked the Chris Hayes article.
Yeah, there's apparently there's some dispute about, whether Bones is a part of the regular rotation moving forward, which Bones had some pushback against.
Yeah,
because I believe the quote was that he was told he was no longer going to be a part of the rotation moving forward.
So I think that he read the aggregated quote, which is why aggregators are bad.
Yeah.
Because the actual quote was that Ty Lue talked to him and was like, hey, it's going to be 5 or 6 games. He talked to 7 players, supposedly. We know that for sure one was Bones. I bet one was also Zoo, but whatever. But the quote was, I think from Bones, that Ty Lue said it was going to be 5 or 6 games while they figure it out, which it makes total sense. Bones said he was, obviously it sucks. You want to play. Yada, 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 all the good stuff you want to hear. So
especially when he was one of the high points of the season that,
absolutely, totally
wasn't ideal before the Harden trade.
And he responded, as any youngster does now when something isn't true, with a little cap emoji, little cap to let you know that it's not true.
Adam, describe to us what that emoji means.
But I didn't think the article overall was super spicy, right? It's the spiciest thing was that Ty Lue.
I only saw the aggregators.
God damn it! I'm begging you. The spiciest thing was that Ty Lue isn't married to the starting lineup, which.
Oh, really?
Not a shocker.
I didn't see that.
Yeah, that was
really?
That was buried in there.
Because he was asked before yesterday's game by Andrew Greif if he had thought about bringing Russ off the bench, and he said no. He talked about the pace he plays with. They want to start fast. Tempo matters. Huh.
Not married to it, but that doesn't necessarily mean Russ is benched.
No.
That could mean.
Could be Harden. It could be anyone.
Could be Zoo. Will could get his dream. But yeah, it wasn't. I guess that was kind of the spiciest part. Was that he's not married to the, and everything else was like the Stars know they need to sacrifice and they got to play with pace and kind of more of the same. But yeah, the starting lineup thing, and then seemingly it's been 5 games with James, 2-ish more games until Bones is back in the rotation.
Does that mean Norm's then out? Because if the point of not having Bones is because you don't want to play small, you can't have him and Norm out there. I don't know how they work through that.
Well, you don't think they can, Adam, but we might just see it. No.
Well, I'm just going off of the reasoning behind it, but I get what you're saying. Should we bring it up, because I'm getting calls on this? People are saying,
actively
the seat. Yeah, hold on, guys. I gotta take this.
I was like, you're giving them your home number on AM 570, man?
Oh, Sean Englewood. Oh, you want them to play 5 big men? Yeah, no, I understand, but they only have like 1 on the freaking roster right now. So I've been getting calls on Coach Lou. Obviously, people upset. Last night was all about not playing Zubats late. Yeah. But some people have talked about him being on the hot seat. And while I in no way want to see Coach Lou gone, they have lost 6 in a row.
Sure.
They have lost 5 in a row with James Harden. I think it's at least worth monitoring the situation.
Yeah, I think that's fair.
Because if they lost 5 more in a row,
man, I'll tell you what. I mean, if you lose 5, if they lose 10 in a row, 11 in a row, I would not be, but I don't think that's going to happen.
I guess the point of this, because I want to put my vote of confidence with Coach Lou, because I do think he's the guy to right this ship. He's the one that can figure out how to make this work. And he's so unbelievable in a playoff setting. What matters more than that? I know the regular season has been tough at times, and there have been some interesting calls. You're never going to agree with your head coach all the time. That's just unrealistic. But people are starting to talk about it, and I want to see it through with Coach Lou. I want Coach Lou to have a chance to figure this thing out. And I'm not saying, look, it's just calls that I'm getting. I don't think anyone's reported anything, Chris Haynes or anyone else. But you lose 6 in a row. I think it's at least worth bringing up. Will?
It's another one of those things like what's your big idea for the alternative?
Right. Where are you going with that? Who's righted? Well, you could say David Blatt was fired midseason for Coach Lou. We're talking about 10 games in.
Yeah.
Like, that would be disastrous. How does that help anything? So I'm
kind of
just
something that's like looked so like discombobulated and disjointed. I don't think that more unrest begets, something more cohesive.
Yeah. I guess I'm just responding to all the tweets we're seeing and the calls I've been getting about it. Like, no, I don't think that's the solution to anything. I really think if anyone can figure this out, it is Coach Lou, and they will figure it out. But it doesn't need to start Friday. There's got to be urgency back at home. If they play the same way they did against Denver, hell, if they had played that way against Memphis, against, I don't know about Dallas, but against Brooklyn, with how undermanned they were, if they played the same way they did last night, they're winning those games.
Yeah.
Like, it's one thing, it stinks in some ways because their best effort happened to be against the defending champs. And maybe there's something to that. Clippers
that's an issue, though.
Like, for good teams and played down to lesser teams at times,
and that's been an issue. And we were told that wasn't going to be the game script this year, and that just hasn't really been the case.
I mean,
so there's still time to turn it around.
They blew out Portland. They blew out San Antonio. It hasn't been the case since they brought in Harden. You could say, while they're trying to sort through this and integrate him. But they beat up on Orlando. Like, they have had some good wins where they look dominant. The game against Utah on the road was tough. It was
you
close.
Just mentioned all 3 of their wins.
Yeah. And that was 15 days ago, their last win. 17 days.
Winless in October. We're defeated in November so far.
Are we talking the give no quarters standings?
Oh God.
Someone was asking about that.
No, we were talking about the coaching thing, and then it kind of evolved.
I just want to push back against, because we're seeing so much of it on Twitter. I'm getting calls.
No, I agree. The Ty Lue thing, it's like, okay, so we lose 6 in a row. That's shitty. When's the last time a team added a guy who had as much gravity in what is going to be done with the team as James Harden, and then 5 games or 10 games later fired their coach because it wasn't working well, and then 70 whatever games later said this was a great season?
The closest thing that would mirror something like this
Adam's name, sorry.
would be the Lakers in the Sports Illustrated "This is going to be fun" team with Steve Nash and Dwight Howard when they fired Mike Brown early in the season for D'Antoni.
Right. That was not fun.
End up working. Kobe went out. They did, I think, go like 28-12 their last 40 games of the season before everything fell apart and Kobe tore his Achilles, and
sure
they played and got swept by the Spurs in the first round. But no, this is not the direction to go for for more stability with this team that they've been lacking. I don't think making a coaching move helps that.
And he's in a contract year. Aren't we right about that? Isn't Ty Lue in a contract year too?
As far as I know, he's extension eligible, just like Paul George, just like Kawhi Leonard.
And they didn't last year. I remember there was some talk about that because it was like, well, we gotta see which, like, you know, whatever you want to think about it. But yeah, firing him mid-season, I would be a lot more worried about the end of the season if we're firing Ty Lue. Yeah. If Ty Lue was fired.
He's the one who has a creative enough mind to me to figure out how to make James Harden work on this team. And if tough decisions have to be made, yes, you may complain about his 10-game, 15-game sample size, but I think it also gets guys to buy in, to say, okay, you gave it a shot. It's not working. Now I know why I'm sitting. And that kind of keeps the peace.
Yeah. Because, I mean, and also think of the egos you have to manage. And I know that has a negative connotation when you say the word egos, but if you're Paul George, Russell Westbrook, Kawhi Leonard, James
personalities,
Harden,
I think, because I think
that's a great word for it.
I think part of like being a coach, like it or not, is managing personalities. And there's different ways to do that. But that was like one of those things that I never thought, like, as good as an X and O's guy as he was, like Doc Rivers was never good at managing personalities. He was like
some would say horrible at it. But yeah, like, and Ty Lue has that respect. A guy who's never been a coach before is not going to come in and say,
I've never, and like,
let's do it my way. And these guys are going to go, yeah,
like, correct me if I'm wrong, but I just can't, I can't name a former player of his that's really come out and been like, oh, that was a bad experience. That was a dysfunctional locker room. That was not that I can think of. I don't know.
Sure.
Everybody around the league, he seems to have the respect from his peers. He's always voted as like one of the best in-game adjusters in the game. I think that should mean something to Clipper Nation, even during this difficult moment. Like, it is still early. There's 72 games left. Maybe they're going through their rough patch of the season at the beginning, and it's more magnified because of that, because they haven't built up that equity with a winning streak to start things off.
Sure. I will say, I'm worried about March. I know I maybe say it every episode, but I'm getting a little worried about March.
We got some time.
We have a lot of time to worry, baby.
Like, the Rockets are on pace to win 55 games right now. Do you guys think that's going to happen?
Talk to me after the game on Friday.
I'm just saying, like, wasn't it more likely this is a Utah Jazz situation from last season when they get off to a hot start?
I like that.
And then peter off.
I like that idea.
The cream will rise to the top eventually, and we're hoping the Clippers are part of it.
Or what was it, Chicago, like 2 years ago, where it was like, is Chicago, are the Bulls actually good?
When DeRozan came back, and it was like, oh, shit.
Hit every clutch shot possible.
Yeah, that's a good call. Have we done game picks for Friday? I think the Clippers, it's a 6-game losing streak versus a 6-game winning streak, and I think the Clippers spoil the Rockets. God, I hope they do.
They have to.
They have I mean, I can have nothing but optimism. I think they win this game. I hope so.
I can have nothing but optimism. I think they win this game.
I've been wrong every other time. I've said, oh, the streak ends now. It's over. We're turning this around. But that being said, they got this one.
Streak
This
ends
is
now.
the money in the bank. Cash the check now. Don't even wait till the 1st.
This is Will Updike's lock of the week. It's Clippers Rockets.
One bank guarantee.
And I think we're all going to be in the building, I believe, on Friday. I submitted my credential request. Hopefully that gets approved. Will, I'm assuming you submitted yours. Adam, they just let you walk in whenever, even if the game's not happening.
I mean, it's not like, or maybe it would be like Woody Harrelson in Kingpin, where he walks in all cool and then goes for that guy's pizza slice. Like, it's like, hey, that's my pizza.
That
like,
rules.
It's one of the greatest movies of all time.
That movie's so good. All right, we have to get out of here. We are going to have probably a double dip on Friday after the game, if we're invited. A pod this weekend, maybe Saturday, maybe Sunday. Who knows? The Clippers have kind of some time off. Which is interesting.
Depending on how early we can get called on the radio, because going to a movie.
Going to a movie.
Chuck and I are going to go watch The Killer.
Yeah.
But it's on Netflix.
But it's also in theater.
I would much prefer to watch it in a theater.
I've never seen a Fincher movie.
It's David Fincher. Yeah. I'm not hearing great things, but whatever.
Hey, I love my movies, love my popcorn. So we will be back. Reviews help us over on iTunes. You can find us on YouTube. youtube.com/@ClippersPodcast. Try and beat Adam to being the first comment. He's the only person on the internet who still comments first. And if you can beat him, we'll give you a shout out. Also, if you've been keeping track of the Give No Quarter, please let us know. We've completely lost track.
We'll get back on track. Luckily, there's only 10 games. I think we can figure it out.
And
it's a fun gimmick we came up with.
I wish you could have seen me crunching the math, being like, great, we're going to get like $8. It's not that many quarters.
We're going to go to the arcade, guys.
Hell yeah, we could. All right, we will be back. Thank you to everyone. Adam, one positive thing before I give the final send out, please. For Clippers,
I'm not worried about Kawhi Leonard with his health. To me, it looks like from the shot charts, it's just about him getting more attempts up. When he does, he's more efficient, so it's a rhythm thing. Get him the damn ball and get out of the way, please. Let him cook. Let him have 25 shots against the Houston Rockets. I don't care. How about that?
There we go. That's perfect. We will see y'all later in the week. And as always, let's go Clips.